Blog Talk Radio.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Hello and welcome, everyone. It is Friday night, and you are listening to Paranormal Review Radio, the only radio show without commercials and with more great paranormal talk. I'm Anthony Agati in New York.
And I'm Lucy Liebfried in Chicago. Are you ready for another Paranormal Friday night? We are so happy that you could join us. We welcome all our regular listeners and those of you who have tuned in for the very first time. Now, if you have a question for our guests, or about the topic tonight, feel free to ask us in chat or call into the show at 661-244-9831. We'll try to get to you as soon as we can. Now, don't forget you can always send us an email with future topics that you'd like to see on the show, or if you just want to say hi. Our email address is paranormalreviewradio@yahoo.com. And last but not least, check us out on our Facebook show page and on our YouTube channel for more information on the paranormal and upcoming shows.
You know, the film titled Surviving Death, A Paranormal Debate by filmmaker and director B.J. Baretta seeks not to debate whether the paranormal exists, but rather what exactly is the paranormal and how can we explain it in scientific or even theological terms. What starts out as a thesis film has developed into an amazing piece of work for the world of parapsychology and science. Set in Eastern State Penitentiary, the film focuses on three individuals well known in the paranormal world. Richard Felix, who is a paranormal investigator from the infamous show Most Haunted, Michael Todd, a London-based psychic medium, and Dan Sturgis, a well-known paranormal investigator and researcher from New York. As they investigate the most haunted penitentiary in America, Mr. Baretta pulls in many top professionals in the paranormal, religious, and scientific worlds like Lloyd Auerbach and Father Jerry Wooten, Dan Sturgis, and Dan Harshman. The answers to the paranormal don't lie in the actual investigations many teams do, but it lies more on examining the experiences using the measures that humans are capable of utilizing in today's world and exploring the explanations that fit the puzzle. Surviving Death, a Paranormal Debate will intrigue its viewers to think more about the possibility of the existence of paranormal and how we can explore the answers we desire. Tonight we'll explore the film, we'll explore the paranormal, and open the paranormal debate on worldviews to get closer to the idea of what happens when we survive death. Please help me in welcoming filmmaker and director of the film, B.J. Baretta, and paranormal investigator and radio personality, Dan Sturgis. Welcome to the show, guys. How are you?
Hey, everybody.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Hi, welcome, guys. You know,
that was I was going to say that was an excellent intro. I mean, the way you kind of framed the film as it's not debating whether the paranormal exists, but the points of view. And you said it so well. I'm going to have to steal that. That's great. Thank you.
It's yours, BJ. It's definitely yours.
Well, you know, BJ, I've watched your film, Surviving Death, A Paranormal Debate, and I honestly have to say that this was really the first piece of documentary film that left me wanting more. What was the reason for making the film?
Well, a few reasons, a few things that just kind of came all together. The first thing was I was getting my master's degree in film from American University, so I needed this thesis project. I wanted to do something that was topical, something that was popular, and the paranormal always is a popular topic. But I wanted to do it in a way that wasn't, traditionally done. I didn't want to add to the catalog of ghost hunts or stuff of that nature. I wanted to take a different take, and I was particularly interested because my mom is a professional astrologer, Lisa Baretta, And but I grew up in Philadelphia, and I went to Catholic school. So I had the a Catholic upbringing, but my father was a professional astrologer, metaphysical, parapsychological type of person as a profession. So, I kind of, Catholic school kind of talks a lot about, like, heaven and hell and what happens to you after you die and, eternal damnation and sin and salvation. And then, just kind of the different metaphysical, just the different thoughts about consciousness just growing up from my mom. So all that kind of came together. And then I was enough to, I was kind of reaching out very early on. I reached out to Lloyd Auerbach, and he was a very generous person. He got back to me quickly, and he kind of really, got me excited on the topic, and he quickly introduced me to Dan Sturgis. And through my mom's connections, I was able to get Richard Felix and Michael Toddy, and it just kind of all came together. And it came together, I was quite satisfied.
It came together very well.
Thank you.
There is there's a great cast of characters in the film, like Lloyd Auerbach. We mentioned Richard Felix from Most Haunted, the physicist Dan Harshman, Father Jerry Wooten, medium Michael Toddy, and of course Dan Sturgis. So, how did you get them all to agree? This group of professionals. How did you get them to agree to be in the film?
I was very honest about what I was making. I was saying I wasn't making a film that had an agenda. I wasn't going to use anybody as like a token gotcha person, or I wasn't going to manipulate interviews. I was very honest with my approach, and I think that's why I was able to kind of have the Catholic priest, Dr. Nathan Harshman from American University, because he told me, the physicist Nathan Harshman, his wife was a little concerned at first because she didn't want me to, she was afraid that, that I would, manipulate the interview. And, that's not what I did. And even, I know Lloyd, is approached a lot, Lloyd Auerbach's approached a lot for different films or video productions. And I told him what I was trying to do, and he was excited that somebody was going to tackle a topic like this. And I think from the endorsement from Lloyd Auerbach, I was lucky enough to get Dan. Dan was great, and the whole cast was great. And, and like I said, there were actually interviews I didn't use. There were interviews that, I wanted it to be an open debate. So it was going to be point, counterpoint. It wasn't going to be somebody was going to say something and somebody's going to slap it down and say that's bunk or that's BS. I wanted somebody to explain their point of view, like, I disagree because of X. And then that countered the counterpoint. And I really just kind of, and it had a nice flow to it as I was putting it together. I was really kind of finding a rhythm where everything just kind of segued nicely. So you're not, at least I hope that when you're done watching the film, you're not left thinking like one side had, the upper hand or one side was unfairly treated. And I think everybody had the point of view is, this stuff can't be explained. But we have these experiences, and there is an open debate depending on your worldview and your background, and just you personally, what you think this could be. So, like you said in the beginning, it was excellent that it wasn't a debate as to does paranormal exist. It's a debate as to what is it, because everybody has these sixth senses, hairs in the back of the neck, intuitions, premonitions, vivid, dreams of something happening, you name it, seeing a ghost, hearing about a ghost, everybody's had, or at least knows somebody who's had some sort of experience like that. And that was kind of the foundation I built off of.
Well, I honestly wish it was longer. I really do.
I appreciate that. It's great. Always leaving wanting more.
Well, Dan, can you tell our audience a little bit about your history and how you became involved in the paranormal?
Well, hey, BJ, good to hear your voice, pal.
Yes. Good to talk to you again.
It's been a while. I've been involved with paranormal for quite some time now, and live here in the city, and I'm an investigator here in the city, and I've been lucky enough to be busy and have been very fortunate enough to have been allied with some great researchers and parapsychologists throughout the world, throughout the country, and one of them, and being a close friend and a mentor, is Lloyd Auerbach. You'll hear his name often tonight, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Is a great guy, and I've over the years learned so much from Lloyd, and really value his friendship and his opinion. And he's not one to BS you. And if you're sort of barking up the wrong tree, or if you're doing something that he considers inappropriate in the field or wrong, he's the first one to tell you. And so when he contacted me and said there's a filmmaker here on the East Coast named B.J. Baretta, and he'd like to talk to you about participating in his documentary, I said, well, sure, give him my contact information. And then B.J. and I touched base through email, and I liked the tone of his email. He seemed like a really nice guy. He had a sense of humor, and in this field, you get great opportunities to participate in lots of video projects or radio projects, and there's not a lot of sense of humor out there, and people get a little stuffy and really rigid about how they feel and what they believe, and it's funny, most of the people that should be open-minded seem to be sometimes the most closed-minded people you'll come across. But BJ was eager to hear both sides of the coin, and just really seemed like he had his act together, and was very professional, and I was telling somebody today when I was telling them about the show tonight, saying, I've worked on lots of shows, and I was an actor here in the city for 20 years, and this project was one of the more professional projects I've worked on.
Oh, thanks, Dan. I appreciate that.
No problem, BJ.
Well,
here's on you.
Dan, I have to say, I really like you. Just by reading your bio and your homepage, and I was checking out your website, SturgisParanormal.com, I kind of feel, or I kind of get the sense that you and I sort of have similar thoughts about the paranormal and similar feelings about the people and the groups that are within the paranormal. And there's one line on your site, on your homepage site, that really struck me. And you say, Sturgis Paranormal is not a team or a group, but rather an experiment unto itself. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think a lot of times, and it's been my experience, I've been involved with a couple of different groups, and it's been my experience that they get very, very almost gang-like, and you're on my turf, and this person is kind of trying to muscle his way into what I've carved out, and it's gotten very. For a while, it was very, very bizarre. And I said, Dan's a part of my team, and then, no, you're a part of my team, and you're leaving to be his team, and blah, blah, blah. And it was getting to just be a drag. And I was having people, I had a group here in the city that they had a Facebook page, and they were just making up names, and I did little computer research, and they were all coming from the same IP address. But they were making up different people on Facebook and just bashing the hell out of me and my friend Tom Villela, who I was involved with in a group, and it was just crazy. And I said, you know what? I'm going to work with people who I like to work with, and I'm going to work with people who I can learn from. And so Sturgis Paranormal is neutral ground, and anybody who wants to investigate with me and who I feel I can learn from and maybe give a couple of pointers to, because you're learning every investigation you go out on. You're learning from the person who's out on their first investigation and the person who's out on their 101st investigation. You're learning from both of them. So,
right.
So Sturgis Paranormal is just, you want to investigate with me and you're cool and we're going to spend the night together and you're not going to get on my nerves and I'm not going to get on your nerves, then come on out. Let's see what we can find.
And I can speak to that as going on an investigation with Dan for the film. It's definitely the vibe, completely just cool and no ego, and just kind of about the mission at hand. When I first started, just very preliminarily, right around even before I got in touch with Lloyd, I was just kind of poking around at just I live in Washington D.C. metro region, so out in Virginia, just kind of poking around and seeing what type of paranormal investigation groups or clubs or teams, and I started picking up quickly a lot of that ego and a lot, even just kind of reading online, and that's not kind of the direction I wanted the film to take, and Lloyd has a lot of really great insights. Just talking to him in general about the approach to studying the paranormal, because it's an investigation like any other subject or field. What if doctors or physicists or quantum physicists or whoever had the same kind of approach towards exploring whatever they're exploring? It was very counterproductive, and I think if you truly care about the field that you are exploring, everybody works together and everybody's research is beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And, a lot of the groups and teams out there, they tend to stray away from the real heart of what it is to be an investigator or to be within the paranormal, and that's the research. It's aligning yourself with the great people like Dan, like you're doing, aligning yourself with the great people out there who really are truly seeking out the answers, or at least trying to, with great effort, to try and find the answers that we're all really searching for. And,
right.
BJ, Lucy and I both have seen this film, and it is absolutely amazing, and it's sort of a breath of fresh air, honestly, because there's not a lot of films out there. I mean, we see a lot of stuff that's on television, and a lot of it is glorified and all that stuff. But for a handful of them, on History Channel or Discovery or Science, there's some documentaries that are pretty good. But with yours, it wasn't just watching the film itself. Lucy and I both did then kind of research. That's just our nature. And, we went into who's Dan Sturgis. Let's find out more about Lloyd, and Richard Felix. Let's go and see, and that investigation and that research, honestly, it put more of the story into what you actually put on film. And I just thought it was amazing. And it all sort of fit like a puzzle, like I mentioned in the intro.
Great.
It all sort of fit like a puzzle.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And, I got lucky in a sense. I mean, that was my intention, but, it was kind of, a broad undertaking to hope everything would just fall so nicely, and it did. And, in the film, the log line of the film is the science-based, the reality television have to answer what happens after we die. And, the film itself, the way it kind of treats, reality television, is a critique upon itself as to, ghosts. And this is, we mentioned this in the film, the university uses no major funding, paranormal is seen as a taboo science, or not in the realm of, quote-unquote traditional science. But, it makes us money, it makes us living. You can make your living as a ghost hunter on television. But, television, you kind of are a slave to the audience and, the ad sales. So every week, if you're not finding a ghost, the show gets boring and you get canceled. So if somebody's getting a paycheck to find ghosts or to scare you. So, I mean, that's why this film is more of like a PBS film or a traditional documentary rather than something you would see on a Discovery or a sci-fi because, like I mentioned, if you wanted to make a living getting ghosts or finding ghosts or examining ghosts, it's entertainment. There's no real program at a college or university, that I know of that you can get a degree in parapsychology because, there's no real parapsychology industry in a sense like if I got a law degree or a medical degree or a film degree, I could probably get a job in that field, but there's no organized professional field where you could make a sustainable income unless you're doing it for television.
Right. The film is set in Eastern State Penitentiary, and Lucy and I both have been there several times, and we've come back with really great experiences. And I think, Dan, you actually have awesome EVP from there when you had investigated. And BJ, had this been the first time you were ever a part of an investigation like that with the paranormal? What did you think, or what did you expect when you first started filming?
It's funny. It was my first time ever. I'm from Philadelphia, and the prison's in Philadelphia. So I took the prison for two reasons. One, because of just that hometown connection. You know, and it was convenient because Dan was in New York, and my guests were flying in from England to Philadelphia. They were staying with my family. And, you know, every ghost show, like you've mentioned, you've been at Eastern State, every ghost show, every documentary in the paranormal, for the most part, has stopped or examined Eastern State Penitentiary. So I didn't want to add to the catalog of ghost hunts. I wanted to examine the ghost hunt itself. So I figure pick something that is well known as being potentially haunted. So that was deliberate. I was in, you know, that specific location. Because, I mean, there was places that people said were haunted down here in Virginia, but they didn't have the name, the power of Eastern State. And as far as my first time going on, I tell you, it's funny. It was, you know, I was in full-on producer mode. You know, I was so focused on the project and capturing good stuff or capturing accurate stuff, and you know, it's a lot of pressure. You know, we have you know, guests in from England just for the night, so you know, one plane ticket, you know, is across the ocean is expensive, and then running out of Eastern State Penitentiary. So I was just really focused on, you know, the cameras working. You know, leading up to it, I was nervous. I was a little scared because, you know, we're going to be in Eastern State in the middle of the night, and, you know, I hear so many things about it. But I was just so focused in the filmmaking mode. And kind of looking back on it, I was doing it for the film, and I'm very proud of the film. But, you know, it's a small part of me that regrets that I didn't kind of step back for a second and just kind of appreciate where I was or kind of let it in and just fully experience it. But I hope to go back there one day without a camera and just kind of see that, have that experience myself without the distraction or the pressures of you know, making sure everything is you know, is working out okay from a production point of view.
Right.
We'll film that for the special features on the DVD, BJ.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Well, one thing that was really obvious to me, and like you mentioned, you know, you mentioned, you know, the paranormal TV and that. Watching this film, for me, I enjoyed it because it really was more on the research side. And, of course, research is not exciting to the masses. I mean, when we look at paranormal TV, I mean, they're looking for that excitement. And I think that's part of the beauty of this. And was that what you were trying to go for?
Exactly. Yes, thank you. I mean, that's exactly what I was trying to go for because I feel like if you want to have a serious conversation about the paranormal seriously, you got to treat it as a serious subject. You got to treat it like any other serious subject, whether, I don't know, cancer research or, you know, research in just quantum physics or whatever. The point is, you know, treat it with respect, and I treat the topic with respect. You know, I spoke to people that, even if they disagreed with the paranormal, spoke about it respectfully. They were open to the other point of view and could explain the other point of view and explain why they agreed or disagreed. And it wasn't about more I'm right, you're wrong. It was more agree and disagree in a respectful way, and everybody has their own point of view. And I think everybody hopefully came across on film as I said earlier, just not attacked or not used as like a token different opinion, but it's a respected part of the conversation. So yes, the first thing for me was to definitely treat the subject with respect as if it was any other serious topic, you know, because it is, to me, it is, and that's why I made the film and worked with the great people that I worked with.
So Dan, when BJ reached out to you about being in the film, what did you hope the end result would be? I mean, was there a message that you wanted to make sure that actually came across on the film?
Well, that's a great question, and I was just trying to figure a way to crowbar something I wanted to say into the conversation. But so I'm glad you asked this question. Every paranormal investigator out there, whether they're working for a group or working by themselves, they all want a TV show. Everybody does, and anybody who tells you differently is BSing you, because who wouldn't want to make a living doing paranormal investigations? That'd be a great way to make a living. And everybody's got their own idea of what a great show would be. And my idea is I always wanted to do an investigation and bring in experts from maybe a local college or or you know, the local church, and which is exactly what BJ was doing. He was bringing in, okay, people are having these experiences, and can we bring in, you know, a scientist to maybe explain those experiences, and bring in a member of the clergy to give his take on those experiences. And it was really right on par with what I think would be a great show, and what the current crop of shows that are out there. They're sort of unreality TV, because I mean, we know how they work. I've worked on those shows and pilots, and you know, there's really nothing real about these reality TV shows. So so it was great. It was great to have, and I'm entertained by these shows. These shows are cool, and they're entertainment, but they're not documentaries. They're not, you know, history shows. It's entertainment. It's TV, and so it was great when BJ started telling me his ideas, because they were really right along. They were parallel with my ideas, and it was so exciting because BJ was very obviously very excited about it, and so it was great to be around that kind of energy, and I was very, very excited, and wasn't let down at all. You know, sometimes when you work with other people, you're sort of let down, or go, geez, that didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. And
right.
As far as this experience for me, it was better than I could have hoped. So thanks again,
Dan.
DJ.
And thank you. And I was about to say, I mean, a lot of the energy and enthusiasm came from you and the crew. Everybody was genuinely excited by the project. So that's why,
it really was. It was a perfect storm of people, and when you go on these things, and BJ, you know on the sets, and when you do these things, or you're doing some kind of media where there's cameras around and producers and sound people, you can just have one person who's a jerk, and it could ruin the entire shoot. And everybody that we worked with was above board. Even the representatives from Eastern State that were hanging around with us were totally cool, and it was just a really it was kind of pathetic. It was a big loves fest. It was super.
Yeah, we had a great night, and you know, I made sure I planned a nice dinner right across the street from the penitentiary, because I wanted everybody to sit down and get to know each other, share war stories, get to know each other, because I didn't want to just say, okay, this is your role, this is your role, this is your role,
right.
Throw them together in prison and say, all right, go. I really wanted to, you know, and you know, it's hard to develop a rapport in an hour and a half dinner, but you know.
But we did.
I had great people. Yeah, no, we had great people, and dinner was great, and everybody was just everybody was business, but everybody was also kind of, you know, didn't take themselves too seriously, and you know, I got really lucky, and I'm just really, really happy. You know, like I said, the film's the people. It really is. That, you know, I just, you know, I may have curated these experts, but it's their opinions, it's their personality, it's their perspectives, it's their open-mindedness. You know, I mean, it's their film, it's their ideas, and I just basically gave them a sounding board. So they, you know, so the film really is just all these great opinions and respectful opinions. And even though not everybody agrees with each other, I think it makes everybody's kind of opinion or perspective that much stronger, because everybody can intelligently back up their point of view against you know, equally impressive scrutiny or counterpoints.
Well, you know, BJ, in this film, you've got segments with Father Jerry Wooten, and he gives the religious aspect of the paranormal. But, you know, you've got the physicist view, and you've got the psychic medium view. And it really is, you know, it really seems you gave every aspect to the paranormal so that people can pick and choose what they believe or what they feel is close to what they think. So when you were putting this together, I mean, everything seems... Did you plan it out that way, or did it just kind of fall into place in the final cut?
I mean, you know, as a documentarian, you kind of know the questions that you're going to ask, you know, the participants, because you're going for a certain perspective. So, I mean, in a sense, it's playing as much as you can plan a documentary. You know, the line of questioning and the answers I was trying to get was planned, but it's just, you know, like I said, I didn't want to raise, slap one side down or bolster one side. I wasn't playing to a specific audience. I wasn't playing to like a niche paranormal audience, or I wasn't playing to like a fundamental conservative religious audience. I was playing to a general audience. If anybody watched this film, because people believe what they believe. So I'm not going to make a film to convince or reinforce somebody's theological beliefs or somebody's paranormal beliefs. But, because it's such a, the paranormal, I say sometimes like politics and religion, like it can get heated very quickly. And one of the reasons why, because a lot of times it's opinion. You can't prove a right or wrong answer. So I wanted it to be an open dialogue, so to open up other people's points of mind that, this is their point of view, but at the same time to show that the openness or the understanding of other points of view. And like I said, to treat the topic seriously and have a serious debate about it, like something that would be considered more of a traditional science, because I think it's important. I think there's so much that we don't know about our world and, our consciousness. And, it's a heavy question. What happens after you die? Are you a soul that goes up to heaven? Is there a God that judges you? Are you energy? Are you is consciousness just your brain just trying to make sense of the world, and it's just kind of this artificial thing? And when you die, your consciousness goes away forever. I mean, these are heavy questions that are kind of, bigger than, they're just heavy. And, when you put it in terms of a ghost hunt and looking at ghosts, you can kind of think a little bit more narrow about it and think about the ghost hunting shows and being scared and being in touch. But what is that soul? What is that? Lloyd Auerbach says in the film that, a ghost, if you have a ghost, is the conscience of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, okay, I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
Just to tag on to what BJ was saying, this, and the research that you're doing and the data that you're collecting is not only, research into survivalism. It's called in parapsychology and post-mortem survival, but it's also then proving the psychic abilities of living people, because you have to have a psychic ability to experience some of these things. So you're doing two things in one. You're possibly picking up data that could maybe prove the hypothesis of survivalism, and then you're also proving the psychic abilities of the living people. So it's a pretty major undertaking that people are attempting, and sometimes without even knowing it. You get these guys who watch Ghost Hunters one or two times and they think they got it all set, and they go out and they collect EVP and they don't really realize what they're doing. And what they're collecting and what they might be able to prove about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, do either of you feel that our soul may just possibly be our consciousness, and that's what lives on after we die, and is it what we label as paranormal activity or spirits?
You want to go first, Dan, or you want me to take it?
Yeah, BJ.
Well, I mean, I believe, I definitely believe our consciousness lives on. And doing the research for the film and some of the things that, I didn't have the time or opportunity to pursue, I wanted to tell a real quick story related to this question. There was you may have heard of this story, the neuroscientist right here in University of Virginia, UVA. And he contracted some sort of like meningitis or some sort of virus or bacteria, something that attacked his brain. And he went into a coma, and the bacteria was affecting certain parts of his brain. So when he was in his coma, he had this amazing kind of experience, this like near-death experience, and he was just enveloped in love, and he was just calm and at peace, and it was kind of like seeing the other side. And he came out of the coma, and like I mentioned before, he was a neuroscientist, so he didn't believe in the consciousness as being part of the living on. He believed consciousness was just a function of the brain that makes sense of the world, and when you die, consciousness dies. So he came to, and he told his doctor friends and people treating him that he had his experience, and they said that was impossible because the part of the brain that was completely dead or inactive with the bacteria or virus or whatever was attacking his brain was the part that was responsible for dreams and memories and hallucinations. So that completely changed his worldview. And just read about near-death experiences, and you just read, and my mom's a professional, and she makes a living as an astrologer, and just being around it. I truly, if I can, I can't say what it is. I can't say whether it's a soul or God or a higher energy or a higher purpose. But even if just the stuff that quantum physics is looking into and other dimensions, and something came out a couple of weeks ago that maybe the Big Bang didn't exist and we're part of a fourth dimensional supernova. This is real science. This isn't like science fiction or fringe science. So I believe there's a higher energy, and I believe we haven't evolved, or we don't have the capacity, or we can't wrap our head around it. It's just kind of our existence is just sort of the tip of the iceberg, and I think we have so much more potential. And what that is, I don't know, because like I mentioned, you can't comprehend it, you don't know, and so there's this great unknown. So yeah, I believe consciousness is energy. I believe it's something more. I believe there's just too many experiences in life and anecdotes that you hear from friends throughout history, and that we're not just living this completely consequential or inconsequential existence, or just, and then when we die it just all disappears. I believe there's something more, and like I said, the film just kind of looks at different points of view, but doesn't say which one over the other.
No.
Well, Dan, do you have a belief, Dan? Do you believe in the consciousness?
I believe in a consciousness, and I believe in. I think when we start using the word soul, it has a religious connotation to it.
Right.
And if you want to keep it spiritual, which I agree with, but not religious, and so you kind of take that word soul out of it. And is it the consciousness, or is it's we're talking about the personality, the mind of somebody that has passed on. And do I believe that consciousness survives bodily death? There is a lot of evidence suggesting that it does. For how long is it aware of its surroundings, and can it communicate with the living, and does it still have the same feelings? These are all questions that as living people we want to know, because we want to know what happens when we die. And so I hope it does, because I would love to be able to keep an eye on my loved ones, and I would love to still feel love for my loved ones that are still alive. But these are all questions that we don't have the answers to. But the question you're asking is, do I believe that consciousness survives bodily death? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I just don't know in what form, and I don't know for how long, and I don't know what that consciousness experiences.
Well, one of the areas that I'm personally getting into more, and I'm finding more and more answers, or what I think may be answers in the paranormal, is quantum physics. And BJ, you had mentioned that just briefly before. The idea of quantum entanglement is just simply amazing and boggling, and it gives me a headache at the same time.
Sure.
And BJ, you actually touched on this topic with Lloyd in the film. And this question can be for the both of you, whoever wants to answer it. How deep do you feel we may be digging into the paranormal with quantum physics?
Well, it depends on what you're calling paranormal. Is it beyond normal? Sure, but everything was paranormal at one point. Thunder and lightning was paranormal until we figured out what it was.
Right.
Is quantum mechanics? Is that going to be able to prove some of these paranormal hypotheses? Maybe. When you're talking about quantum mechanics, you're talking about how things relate to each other on a cellular level. And when people are having a paranormal experience, they're having it's actually a psychic experience, and then you have to dig down on a cellular level to what is actually going on inside the person to have them perceive what they feel they're perceiving. So I mean, geez, I don't even know if that answer makes sense. BJ, you better take over, brother.
Yeah. Okay. The quantum physics was kind of one of the entryways. I had a few entryways into this project that excited me. A few things excited me at once. My dual kind of upbringing, and that the one thing that really excited me was I saw a documentary called What to Believe. I don't know if you saw or heard
yes.
of it. It's a great documentary, and I was speaking about it to the priest in the film. I was just saying, I was trying to, we were just talking about, having this very deep conversation, and I said, you should watch this film and tell me what you think. And he goes, and this is before, I think I'm maybe, I don't even have a contact with Woodjay. This is very beginning stages. And he said, What the Belief is interesting, but he goes, you should know the filmmaker doesn't talk about the other side. It just completely, has a one-sided agenda. And I said, you're right, and I really kind of want to explore it from all angles. But I was excited by the, What the Belief is a film about consciousness, and it talks a lot about quantum mechanics, because when you start breaking down, we start getting to that subatomic level, and Newtonian physics break down, and you start getting into the quantum physics, and like the stuff like the observer. Like if you observe something, it completely behaves differently than if you don't observe it. And you could take two electrons from the same atom and put them, way apart, and what happens to one electron, is also affects the other electron, entanglement and all that stuff, and stuff that's way too deep that I could even comprehend. But I take that quantum physicist Nathan Harsh, and I picked his brain for a good couple of hours, and a lot of the stuff didn't make the film because it was just way too deep. But I was just asking him as just somebody who was just truly interested about quantum physics, and his point of view was he wasn't fully on board with the paranormal as he was seeing the film, but not in a bad way. He just offers a great argument for people to give very strong counterpoints to. But he mentioned in the film that a lot, like entanglement itself came from these physicists in the 70s in Berkeley trying to figure out what the paranormal psychic ability was, and from that from that entanglement came from. So there is a lot of things at first. The 70s isn't that far off in terms of scientific discovery. Galileo was being burned at the stake when he said the moon revolves around the Earth revolves around the sun, or the Copernicus, or whoever it was. These things weren't accepted at first. They were seen as ridiculous or frauds or heretics. But eventually, as the science got better, these things started becoming less pseudo and less fringe, and becoming more accepted. So those quantum mechanics answer paranormal, whereas Dan puts it, let's just explain that's not paranormal, it's a new normal, or explain intuition or psychic ability or this other stuff. I don't know, but I'm open to it because just quantum physics is just fascinating in general. And without quantum physics, this crazy theory that we're living in some fourth dimensional supernova. I mean, these things are crazy, but real scientists have math to support these theories, and it's discovering. It's like discovering the world all over again. We got Newtonian physics down, but I feel like we're just scratching the surface with our technology and our intelligence as to what happens when we kind of get in that deep subatomic world.
All right. At the very least, I think quantum mechanics is showing us that maybe the worldview that we've had and how the world works wasn't entirely correct.
Right.
So if we weren't right about some things, there's a pretty good chance we weren't right about a lot of things. And the dismissal of psychic abilities, which is what we're investigating, poo-pooing that away and is not a correct way to look at how the world works.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm half Cherokee. Okay, my ancestors had a very deep belief in spirits and the land, and this belief's always made me think that there has to be a good source for the beliefs that they have. So I want to ask, do either of you believe that the answers we're looking for, will we have these answers about surviving death while we're still alive, or is this truth only going to be revealed when we cross over?
Do you take this one, Dan?
Yeah, I'll take this one. I maybe I don't understand the question. Do you think we're going to solve the answers in our lifetime, or are these questions that are never going to be solved and we'll only learn until we pass over into the next part of our existence?
Yeah, I mean, with everything that that we've mentioned, we're talking about like we're looking at quantum physics and we're looking at these scientific answers, but yet there has been a belief within my ancestors about the spirits and about life after death, and it was taken as pretty much they just knew, they believed in it. So will we all come to this conclusion? I mean, is this something that we'll truly not know? I mean, are we going to be able to find this answer while we're still here?
Well, I think for some people we've already found the answer. Some people are just believers, and I think a lot of cultures you wouldn't even need to ask that question. But I think maybe I'm just being optimistic, but I'm thinking that there's going to be some pretty major breakthroughs, and with the current with new scientists that are coming up, and might sound silly, but the new scientists that are replacing the old scientists who are passing away and moving on and retiring, these are scientists that grew up in the generation in search of television programs like Sightings, and that might have had an interest in this stuff, and they take it a little bit more serious than the scientists that might be around, sort of like the old guard. So I think there's going to be a lot more significant research and scientific research into parapsychology. I think parapsychology will eventually make a comeback and be recognized as a legitimate science again. And so I think we're going to get some answers. Are there going to be people that will for every 100 people you have that say they can prove the survival of consciousness after bodily death, you're going to have a lot more that can disprove it. So, but I think there's going to be better data that's going to be out there, and there's going to be more opportunities for people to do the research than there are right now.
That's a great point, Dan, when you mentioned. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Real quick, a real great point that kids growing up are interested in watching these shows. Maybe even watching these ghost hunting shows. Boyd had made a point to me about like kids that grew up watching Star Trek. Now they're scientists, and kids that grew up watching like medical dramas. I mean, if medicine was practiced the way they are is practiced in medical dramas, society would be in a mess. Or people that want to be cops or lawyers from legal dramas. So people that have a genuine interest, and who knows if and when that one big breakthrough will happen that will spark a legitimate kind of or legitimize parapsychology again. Do I think that we'll fully know? I think it's such a big question. Maybe I'm not as optimistic. I don't think that we'll. I think we just barely understand. Our role in this universe, or whatever this multiverse, or whatever it is we exist in. I think we barely know we're stuck at best on in this infinite place. But I'd like to think that death is a beautiful thing. I know self-preservation. Naturally, none of us want to die. I'm not looking forward to it. But there could be something great and beautiful, and you hear about these near-death experiences and loving and this great, this kind of being instantly filled with this knowledge. So, while it's scary and while we're probably going to be leaving, loved ones and vice versa, it's, my optimistic outlook is, we might not understand it, and it may be scary, but it could be something really, exciting and beautiful, when that, time comes.
Very nice.
While making the film Surviving Death, a Paranormal Debate, did anything come as a surprise or change any of your thoughts on the paranormal or life after death?
Not necessarily. I don't want to say, because I always had an open mind. My opinion was similar. I mean, it was an exploration, and it was a journey, and I talked to the people I talked to and had the participants I did because I was truly interested in their valid, respectful opinions. And, I grew a deeper knowledge and a deeper appreciation, but, I always kind of how the film ends and kind of as I was saying on the show, it's, no, I'm not going to prescribe to know. I may never know, probably not ever in my lifetime, but I'm open to everybody's points of view, and it was Father Wooten who said, let's be honest about what we can verify, depending on your worldview, whether you're a scientist or a psychologist or a theologian, about what kind of facts, data can we verify, and then from there just be honest about how we're looking at it from our worldview. If you go to a priest and say that, you had this feeling, this intuition, they're going to say it's a prayer from God. And if you go to a parapsychologist, they may say, well, maybe it's a spirit trying to contact you. And if you go to a traditional scientist, is just going to say, you have an ingestion. I mean, it really, people's worldviews really kind of bias them to their opinions, obviously.
Well, BJ, the paranormal is so big right now with all of these groups and these teams and these shows. Do you think you may want to continue with the paranormal topic and explore other areas, maybe UFOs or Bigfoot?
Oh, definitely. Like you said, it's only 27 minutes, and even just talking, to you guys, it's some of the things I want to explore. I want to go deeper into consciousness, because I feel like if you unlock consciousness or understand it more, I think it will begin to explain some of these other things. Maybe UFOs or just imprints from different multiverses. That's one theory that I heard. And understanding consciousness, from a medical point of view, that is, it's beyond a biological function of your brain. I'm really curious into consciousness, and from there, all these other paranormal experiences. Because as Dan, mentioned so nicely, paranormal and everything is just not, within the realm of normal. So many things fall into the realm of the paranormal. So my interest is the consciousness and what it is, and I feel like from there, that knowledge and understanding, if you could ever truly understand it, might begin to make some of those questions less hard, because I think we look at this world in kind of ways that we are able to understand it with knowledge that we know. So if we see something in the sky, it's got to be an object, or if something happens, it's got. But I think we have to kind of open our mind and kind of think, outside the box, or be able to accept things that are outside our realm of comprehension right now.
Well, the movie is called, Surviving Death, a Paranormal Debate. BJ, what do you hope people get by watching your film?
I just, like you mentioned, a breath of fresh air. People that watch this film are interested in the paranormal, and like I said, I wanted to spark, conversation, dialogue, curiosity, research. I just wanted to, like with any real debate, what is the outcome of the debate? Is kind of more questions in a good way. There's no answer to this film. The film doesn't have a conclusion per se, which is kind of difficult as a filmmaker to make a film that's open-ended. Everybody kind of makes their point, but then the audience can kind of take it from there and do with what they want. I just kind of want it to be a real thoughtful piece. I really want people to think and be entertained, and also just and be aware of what the other point of view is. I feel like sometimes you dig your heels in with your point of view, that you don't have to agree with the other point of view, but at least know where they're coming from, let them know where you're coming from. And, as I mentioned before, the priest said, there are things that both sides can agree on, and then from there, it's independent to your particular worldview and to which direction you go.
I may be putting you on the spot, BJ, and I apologize,
Sure.
but if you had to describe the film in one word, how would you sum up the film that gives the viewer the best idea of what to expect?
One word. There's definitely a spot. Intellectual, I guess, and I don't mean that in kind of a stodgy, kind of boring way, but in a way that, people that are fans of the paranormal, people that participate in the paranormal, are very aware that it's often seen as taboo. The way he talks about it in the film, and I kind of want to, like I said, by treating it on the level with priests and quantum physicists and stuff, in a truly respectful manner, an intelligent manner, that you can see that this is a real field and something that the film doesn't explain anything per se. I wanted to excite people, and I wanted to kind of maybe raise the level of awareness, or just raise the level of kind of the study or the research or whatever in paranormal. I want it to be taken seriously, more so, than it is in just kind of the niche groups that participate in it.
Well, BJ, what's in store for the film now? Have you marketed to any film festivals, or has anyone inquired about picking it up for a bigger project?
Nobody's picked it up. It's going to be released on iTunes Tuesday, October 15th. So if you have iTunes, you can get it there. And then it's going to be on Amazon hard copy. I know they sent the distributor has it, and that should be up before Halloween. So if you go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Surviving Death Debate, or if you go to survivingdeathdebate.com, you can find all the information. If anybody lives in Indianapolis, October 30th at 9:30 p.m. it's going to be on WFYI3. It was on a couple PBS stations. So there's definitely opportunities to view it, and this is kind of its wide release. So we'll see what happens if it excites people as if it excited you too, and who knows? It really, it's not a traditional paranormal film. Or it's not a ghost hunt. It doesn't keep you on the edge of your seat per se, and there's moments that are a little scary. But it's there really has to be an audience for something to happen. So if you're really interested in this, check it out and share it, and if there's an interest, I'd love to do something more with it, because I have a ton of great ideas and work with great people like Dan and Lloyd. I'd love to continue working with them.
Oh, thanks, BJ.
Dan, what's in store for Sturgis Paranormal, or for yourself for that matter? Do you have any projects or events that are coming up for you?
Well, it's I have an ongoing investigation I do at a museum here in New York City called the Merchant's House Museum. Anthony, I don't know if you've made it down there. You're in New York City, right?
Yeah, I haven't been there yet. No.
It's a great place. It's a busy time right now for them. They Halloween time they do ghost tours, but it's a pretty active little environment down there. It was built in 1832, and it belonged to one family. And the way it is right now, it's a real life time capsule. They it's a 5-story townhouse, and the sheets that are on the beds are the sheets that the family slept in the early 1800s, and the clothes in the closets are the clothes that they wore. The building is pretty much as is. So I've been investigating the house I'm in my 7th year now, and we get in there. Some years we do every month. Sometimes we just do every 3 months, every 4 months. But we continue to investigate in there. I also do a place in the Bronx called the Baretta Mansion, which also is a pretty active place. So I'm keeping busy and just collecting the data and see if there's any correlations, and anything I catch I send out to people that are a lot smarter than I am, and they analyze it, and most of the stuff I send out to some of these digital forensic guys, they send it back to me and say, Dan, sorry, Dan, it's crap, or it's somebody talking outside, or I can explain this photo. But every once in a while, it stumps them, and that's what keeps investigators like myself coming back. So we're busy doing that. We got the SciShow, the radio show, and I'm learning a lot about radio programming and learning a lot from the guests that we have on the show, like I'm sure you guys do. So,
right.
So we're real busy. We're real busy.
Well, you know what, guys? It has been an absolute pleasure having you both on tonight. BJ, can you give us the website again, your links where people can catch up with you?
Sure. It's www.survivingdeathdebate, all one word, .com, survivingdeathdebate.com, where you can go on Facebook, facebook.com/survivingdeathdebate, and you can like us there. We'll be on iTunes Tuesday, Amazon within the next week or so, and then we're going to be rolling out on other platforms like Xbox and Hulu or Vudu. I'm not sure the distributor has a whole rollout plan, so you should be able to get the film as early as next Tuesday on iTunes and then various platforms throughout the rest of the year. And if you're in Indianapolis, you can catch it on WFYI3 at 9:30 p.m., October 30th.
Excellent. And Dan, do you have a website that people can go to? And you did mention a radio show, so what's the name of the show?
Sure. The show's called The Psi Show, the PSIshow.com on the internet. And we're every Monday night at 7 o'clock. Well, most Mondays at 7 o'clock. We have a live show like you guys, and we go for an hour, and we've had BJ on, and we've had Lloyd on, and many parapsychologists, and we had a UFO guy on last week. We're trying to mix it up, but we deal a lot with parapsychology. This coming week we have Dr. Stephen Browdy, who's I'm actually kind of nervous to interview him because he's a big time parapsychologist. He's somebody that like Lloyd looks up to. He's a pretty amazing guy, and then my personal website for the paranormal stuff is SturgisParanormal.com, and that's STURGES Paranormal.com.
Excellent. Well, you know what? Everybody needs to check out the film Surviving Death, A Paranormal Debate. Thank you, BJ Baretta, and thank you, Dan Sturgis, for coming on the show tonight. You know, you guys are both fascinating to talk to, and we wish you the best in the future.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for having us, Dan. Great talking to you again, and
same here, brother.
Thank you guys so much.
We got to catch up soon, BJ.
I hope so. It's been too long.
Yeah, sure has.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and best of luck. BJ, we'll be in contact. Hopefully we'll have some new projects, and we'll have you back on the show.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night,
Thank
guys.
you, Dan. Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right. That is Surviving Death, A Paranormal Debate. The website is survivingdeathdebate.com. And folks who are interested in Dan Sturgis, I mean, he is an absolute great guy. Just from the little that I've read about Dan himself on his website, which is SturgisParanormal.com, and he also has a great radio show, PSI Show, online, which I think he said was PSIShow.com. Both these guys are absolutely amazing. The film is amazing, and if you guys aren't fully aware of who Lloyd Auerbach is, he's a parapsychologist. He is, I keep saying that word, breath of fresh air, but he really does. He puts things so simple. He's able to elaborate on the paranormal and really make sense of the things for myself that I've had trouble with, in the past. I've always read his stuff and listened to him on interviews and on talk shows, and he is a fascinating guy to know, to just know about him and know his work and what he's done and his thoughts on the paranormal and science and everything. It's amazing, and this film really highlights Lloyd and Dan and Richard Felix and Michael Toti, which we hadn't really talked about Richard and Michael all that much, but all the gentlemen that are in this film really are really doing great work, and they are pursuing I guess in each of their respective fields, they're pursuing the answers. And, you've got the religious aspect to it as well as scientific, and then you've got the paranormal. And all of those mixed together, as Dan had said earlier in the interview, it's sort of like having the perfect storm and creating that whirlwind and the amazing opinions and ideas and theories that came from this film in just 27 minutes. I mean, this film is only 27 minutes long, and here I am talking about a 3-hour epic movie. It's only 27 minutes long, and that's why, Lucy, you said you wished it was, longer.
I really do. And the thing is, when I first saw that it was 27 minutes, I'm like, okay, what can you get in 27 minutes? But, just to touch on what you were saying about Lloyd Auerbach, the man is brilliant. I mean, he's absolutely brilliant. And when you hear his perspective along with everybody else's, I mean, they're all coming from their corners, but it just really is. I mean, all roads lead to Rome. I mean, each one of these roads are going towards the same end result. They're all looking for the same answer. And it's the same thing that we do, that we see, you see everybody posting and everyone discusses and everyone has their own opinions. Well, BJ really did pull this together. And when you're watching it, it's not really, you're not really seeing, it's not so much about the activity. It is more about the research, and it's more about the thoughts that are going into trying to find the answers. I mean, I have to admit, we've been to Eastern State several times, and watching it made me just want to go back there again because I'm looking at it from other people's eyes now.
One of the gentlemen that is the cast of characters in this film is Richard Felix, who you may remember the name, but you can't put the face to it. But if you think about the UK paranormal-based show called Most Haunted, he was a regular on that show, I think, before what many considered to be the downfall of Most Haunted. Many people started to claim it was fake, and he had left the show prior to that controversy, or that rumor mill had started. And he himself, Dan Sturgis, and Michael Toddy, the UK-based psychic medium, were the main focus because they were the team, the quote-unquote team, if you want to label something, that BJ filmed within Eastern State Penitentiary, and they were performing some verbal communication sessions with the spirits there and trying to communicate with them. And one of the things that was a little bit odd, and I'm not sure what to make of it, but it's what Richard had brought over from the UK. It's this piece of tool. I don't even know what you would call it, but he called it, and the name for this thing was called the springulum. And it basically looked like a round wooden plaque with a huge spring coming from the center of it and a knob, almost phallic shaped if you'd ask me. But it supposedly was this communication tool, and again, you would use it sort of like you would use a Ouija board, and you'd have the members around you put their fingers on top of this knob and try and communicate with the spirits. And the whole gist of it is basically the spirit is supposed to bend this spring that's attached to this wooden platform base in certain directions, and it's basically a yes or no type of questioning. There's no letters or numbers or anything like that. It's basically a yes or no, or maybe even directional. If you wanted to ask what direction are you in, it would bend it towards the direction. I don't know, but this thing sort of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I don't know about you, Lucy.
You know what? It to me it seemed like along the lines of dowsing rods, and
yeah,
I've never really been a fan of dowsing rods. I know some people use them and some people can swear by them, but that's what it struck me as. I mean, it was just, it's like the spring with a wooden knob on the top and it goes back and forth. And I don't know, maybe if you actually use one, you might. There's so much that I don't know. There's so much that I can't feel what they're feeling. I don't know what the situation was, but it really did strike me like dowsing rods. And again, I've never really been a big fan of them, so I don't know what to make of it. Richard seemed to think that it was giving him answers. I don't know. He equated it to like a Ouija board, but to me, a Ouija board is something slightly different. I don't know. I'm really on the fence about this one too.
It could be a legitimate piece of tool, you know. I just don't know. I've never seen it before. It's the first time in this film that I've seen this piece of equipment being used, and he specifically said it was something that I'm not sure if it was he or someone he knew created this mechanism for the paranormal, for advancing the research for Richard, and Richard brought it over from the UK, and so it was something different. Kudos to him or to whoever it was that was adopted that idea and that invention or that theory to create the springulum piece of work. But it just seemed very different to me, and I'm not sure. I think you guys have to watch the film to understand what I'm talking about, because it I don't know, if you look in Dan's eyes, you can kind of get some answers, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, you guys should go out and see this piece of film, Surviving Death: A Paranormal Debate, and see for yourselves. It really does depict Eastern State Penitentiary. There are some things that happen during their mini investigation there, and in between the actual investigation inside Eastern State Penitentiary, that's when you're going to see clips of, and we didn't get into talking about, I think his name is Dan Harshman, who's the physicist, and then you've got Father Jerry Wooten and Lloyd Auerbach, and Dan himself is interviewed in there, and in between that investigation you have these snippets of what BJ calls intellectual, and they're more of intellectual sessions to discuss the paranormal even further and debate how we can view the paranormal. It's not so much whether or not the paranormal exists is what the debate is. The debate is, how do we incorporate that? How are we able to put it in the vocabulary that we ourselves, or to each of you out there who are listening, how can it manifest within you to be able to understand it and to either further the research or further your inquiry into the paranormal? How does it actually create that birth in you? And that's what the debate is about.
Well, one thing that I really like is the way that BJ explained his upbringing, with the Catholic view, and then again, his mother being an astrologer. I can relate to that. I can identify that. Being raised Catholic and being raised in the church. And then again, I have my Native American beliefs, which to me, I truly believe in the paranormal. I already know about these spirits from that side. And it's almost like the scientific side is just catching up to what the Native American side already knows.
Mm. Well, Lucy, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything else about the film. Did you?
You know what? I think everybody has to see it. Bottom line, I really, really enjoyed it because it really does. It's kind of like this beautiful mixture of different points of view and different thoughts of where people are coming from, and it really doesn't point to one thing being right, which is what we try to do. There isn't one right answer. Everyone has their answers, and this simply is a really nice balanced mixture of all these different points of view, and it leaves it up to you to either enhance your own view or to maybe get a new one. And I really do think everyone just needs to see this film.
Well, and thank you for that summation. That was really great. I love this film, and I don't want to keep boasting about it. And that's why we just say you guys need to go out there and check out the movie Surviving Death: A Paranormal Debate. It'll be on iTunes next Tuesday and on Amazon. Check it out on Amazon.com. I think you said something about hard copy, Amazon.com. I'm not sure if that means a actual DVD, or if you can download it. But look for that next week. And if you're able to, check it out, view it, watch it for yourself. If you're really into the paranormal and you really want to get some answers, or at least spark some interest. I don't think it's going to give you, it's not going to open up the Pandora's box on the paranormal, but it is a really interesting and intriguing piece of film, which is very rare outside of the internet and outside of any of these paranormal television shows that you see. It's very different, and if you are intellectually interested in the research of paranormal, this is one of the films that you should actually go and see. And I commend BJ for creating it, and hopefully he continues and goes on to all the different other topics within the paranormal, because maybe he's on to something. And I hope he keeps Dan and the crew that he had, because they were absolutely amazing. But, Lucy, you don't know this. I love surprising you.
Okay.
I always love to surprise you with topics. It was unexpected that we've got a lot of time left, and so I thought, you know what, let's use this time well. And Dan had mentioned early on about the egos and the drama and all. You know where I'm going with this. With all of the mischievousness within the paranormal teams and paranormal groups that are out there. And, I don't want to give someone who is not familiar with the paranormal community, I don't want to give them a bad taste in their mouth about paranormal groups, because there's great groups out there. There are good teams out there that are really steadfast in looking for answers and research, and don't get caught up in a lot of the, mine is better. No, mine is better. Yours is not. Yours is garbage. Mine is. They don't get into all of that. And Dan and his group. Well, it's not even really a group, but his little one-man team or two-man team, where he aligns himself with great people, other great people, Sturgis Paranormal. He doesn't get into that, and I commend people who don't get into that. But one of the things that really boil my butt, or really get within my skin, is when people perpetuate this drama and create drama where there really is no drama, just for the sake of making a name for themselves. I get very angry, and I get very pissed off. And Lucy, I'll warn you now, I may go into a tangent. I need you to pull me back a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to, hopefully people who are listening forgive me for my language. If you're listening live, or later on, if you're listening on archive or on YouTube channel, I apologize for maybe misuse of language that may come out. But I get very angry and I get very upset with groups or with people that tend to perpetuate this drama, and the no need for furthering rumor and gossip and trying to make a case out of nothing. Within the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to give you the reason why, and I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm saying this. A few weeks ago, before I say this, Lucy, do you think I should be very specific as to who, or do you think I should leave it out?
I think let's leave it out to begin with.
You want me to leave it out?
Yeah.
All right. I'll leave it out. Maybe with the clues that I'm going to say, you may get the gist of it, because if you are heavily within Facebook and online within the paranormal, you may have heard, or you may have seen some of this chatter going on. So I'm going to leave names out of it, and I'll just say, give me a name, Lucy. I'm going to make up a name just so nobody. I'm going to say Red. I'm going to say Red just because I see Red Phantom that had just logged in. So I'm going to say the name Red, and that's who I'm referring to when I'm talking, and I'm going to continue to talk about this story. So for humor's sake, this person's name is Red, okay? A few weeks ago, there was a post on Red's Facebook page that basically said that, and again, Lucy, I'm sorry I'm so cryptic in this right now, but Lucy, should I even say the name of the location?
Yeah, I think maybe we should because it is. Well, no.
I think I should because nobody's going to understand it, and I think I'll get lost when I explain it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The made-up name is Red, but the location is the actual name, which is the Haunted Victorian Mansion. Now, if everybody has watched Ghost Adventures or has been, again, within the paranormal itself, you've either investigated it at the Haunted Victorian Mansion or have heard about it, or like I said, you may have seen it on Ghost Adventures just recently. I think it was a few weeks back. And this person, Red, put on their Facebook page that basically the current owners of the Haunted Victorian Mansion are liars, that all they are out to do is scam the public. They basically scammed the Ghost Adventures crew for the simple fact of promoting themselves and being on air and heightening whatever it is that they are trying to heighten and get money from it, whatever it is, to get money from it. Now, in addition to that, they also stated some lies themselves. This person Red on Facebook stated lies in regards to the feelings or some of the processes involved in what this person thought of how they got money for people to come to haunt in regards to a Groupon. And this person, Red, claims that the owners of the Haunted Victorian Mansion created a Groupon, which is this online coupon thing. I don't even know what the big deal of this is. In order to come and see and investigate the Haunted Victorian Mansion, and all the while claiming that there's a demon in this house. And this person, Red, is stating, why is the owners of the Victorian Mansion putting out coupons and telling people to come and investigate the Haunted Victorian Mansion when they fully well know that there is a demon in there? And if there really is a demon in there, why would they be doing this? And why would they own the house? And they knew that the house was haunted when they first bought it, but now they're claiming that they never really did know that it was haunted. There's a lot to this story, and I'm not really getting specific because I can't get into the names of who this person is and exactly what they've said. But the facts that this person Red was putting out there, I personally commented back and said to them, here's the research that I did. And the Groupon, which is this online coupon thing, was never put out by the Haunted Victorian owners. It was put on by a ghost tour group that takes people around and visits other areas within, where is this, Gardner, Massachusetts?
Yes.
Within Gardner, Massachusetts, one of the stops is the Haunted Victorian Mansion. And this group, this ghost tour group, takes people around to do that, and they are the ones that put out this Groupon, not the owners of the Haunted Victorian Mansion. This person, Red, who I'm calling Red, has been perpetuating the lie and saying that the Haunted Victorian Mansion owners have been putting out Groupons to come and see their demon in their house. They recently just brought up a discussion with the previous owner of the house, which really, to me, I'll say it, it's another radio host who is Red, who was talking to the previous owners, and to me, and Lucy, you heard this interview, to me the previous owner basically didn't even say anything in regards to what this host was saying. This host, Red, was saying. I know I'm going in circles, and again, I apologize for this rambling on, and I really do wish, and if anybody wants to know specifically, they can email us at paranormalreviewradio@yahoo.com, and I will gladly tell you the full story. I don't feel comfortable saying this on the air right now, but I'm really angry when people continue to perpetuate a lie, even though it has been discounted and disproven, to the fact that there is proof online. There is actual proof online in regards to that. Now, they also brought up the fact that a well-known paranormal investigator was talking to someone else and stating that they did an event at the Haunted Victorian Mansion. This group, this paranormal investigator, paid the owners of the Haunted Victorian Mansion $1,000 to have this, event happen at their mansion. This group and this paranormal investigator in turn charged people to come there for this event. They charged, I think it was $150 a head to come and investigate at this haunted mansion. They, I guess, supposedly made $15,000 for the night. It's a pretty heavy loot of money to make in one night. Now, this group is the one that made that money. The Haunted Victorian Mansion owners only received $1,000, as if that is what they would probably charge, or they may have upcharged a little bit because they knew that there was going to be a heavy influx of people coming in that day. But they charge just like every other haunted or supposed haunted paranormal location around the country and around the world that charges people to come and investigate. It's meant to hopefully put that money back into the house or into the location that it's at to help renovate and fix up. Now, this person perpetuated the lie and kept saying that this money, not in so many words, but alluded to the fact that this money was also been given in hand to the owners of the Victorian Mansion, Haunted Victorian Mansion, when in fact the proof that they put forward was in writing, and you can clearly read this paranormal investigator was the one that made the money, and the group that does these events made the money. They paid $1,000 to the owners, and that is it. The owners had nothing to do with the event other than they lended their place, their location, to do this. So, again, the second lie that this person is perpetuating is stating that these people are only out there for the money and that they are making all these millions of dollars off of people, and if there really is a demon, why are they putting people in harm's way? I don't get it when people don't understand truth and that they don't see it for what it is. And if you're out there just to perpetuate this lie and to create rumors and be the person that only likes to bash other groups or bash other locations or bash other people in the paranormal, you are not doing anything to the paranormal itself. You are not enhancing anything in the paranormal field. All you are doing is, first of all, you're making an idiot out of yourself, number one. And two, all you're doing is stirring up rumor mills that some people will believe because they don't know the whole story. And now you've created this mosh pit of people with picks and fire torches ready to go after the Haunted Victorian Mansion. For what? What did they do? They did nothing. If somebody is saying that there's a demon, that they believe a demon is in the home, then that's what they believe in. We don't know. You don't know what a demon is. I don't know what a demon is. I don't even know if they even exist. We don't know what this evil entity is or what we think is a bad entity. We have no clue. We don't even know what a good entity is. We don't even know what our own entity alive on this earth is, let alone what's afterlife. So for you to go out and continue to perpetuate these lies, you've done it on Facebook, you've done it on your radio show, and I'm sure you're going to continue to do this continually and perpetuate this. And what are you gaining from this? Now what you're doing is you're putting a bad taste in everybody's mouth about the poor owners who own this mansion who have done nothing wrong. That pisses me off. That gets me so angry that you continue to do that, well knowing that the evidence that you have is really no evidence at all. If you gave it to a 5-year-old, they would tell you you're wrong. It just is that simple to me, and that irks me. That really irks me. And when I heard this, it's almost as if, a parent is beating on a child for no reason. To me, that's what this feels like, and I want to save that child. I want to, push that parent away. It just bothers me so much, Lucy.
Well, you know what? The whole thing is with this situation. I think one of the questions that had come up, and I think this might have been what started it, is the fact that the mansion has been featured both on Ghost Adventures and I believe it was Paranormal Witness. Okay? And the claims that this person is making against the home are really, they're unfounded because, as you said, the information pointing otherwise is out there. All you got to do is look at it. I mean, and even some of the so-called evidence that the owners were making money actually disproved what the person was saying. And it was almost like you're presenting something, read what you're presenting. Look at the timeline there. Without giving the owners the opportunity to say something, I think it's really one-sided. I think it's petty, and I think it's pretty low. One of the questions, one of the big, outrages was, well, why are you giving a Groupon? Well, the owners had nothing to do with this. And honestly, I don't see what the problem is with giving a Groupon. The owners didn't set this up. It was the people that were handling the tours. This isn't the first time that a location has been brought under fire. And for some reason, every once in a while, it seems like people either have some kind of agenda, or I don't know if it's something personal, or if they feel like they've been slighted, or whatever it could be. Every so often, it's happened before, where a location is put under some kind of witch hunt or some kind of accusations that truly are not true. If it is a legitimate beef, if there's something wrong, then yes, then people should speak out. But when it's something like this, where the owners themselves have not done anything wrong, I don't understand why this is happening. And the second part, I don't understand why people just simply take the word of someone. Even us, if we come to you with something and you really need to check it out, check out what's being said. Before you take it as gospel truth, you have to do some kind of research. You have to look into it. You can't simply take what someone is ranting and raving about without, sure, listen to it, but you really need to take it a little bit further. And in this case, the evidence against it being true was literally there.
This person, Red, that I'm talking about, that I'm naming as Red, has actually investigated in the Victorian Mansion, haunted Victorian Mansion, several times, and has said that the place is haunted. Their beef is that the new owners somehow are labeling it demons. Now, I caught Ghost Adventures, and I don't know if you remember the full episode, Lucy, but I honestly, and I'm gonna see if it's on YouTube again. I do not remember the owners or anyone talking about demons other than even Zach. Zach actually mentioned the word demons when he was talking to the owners at the foot of the stairs. I remember this. That when the owners were talking about this evil entity or this bad entity, Zach Beggins said to the owners, when he was saying, well, this bad entity or demonic entity or whatever, how did it make you feel, or whatever the question was, he put that in the context of a question to the owners. I do not remember the owners saying demons. Now, if somehow they're claiming that the house is occupied by demons, it has to be written somewhere, or it has to be posted somewhere. Now, this person, Red, never mentioned anything about where it's posted, where they said it, how they said it, who it was said to. So I did the research, and I'm trying to figure out, was it on the show? No, I don't remember them saying it on the show. Is it on their website? No, it's not on their website. Did they say it somewhere, and maybe in an interview? That I don't know. I haven't been able to collect everything yet. But if you are going to claim that someone says that they've got something in their house that's demonic, that to you is almost like a blow to your body, that someone says that there's something demonic in their house, well then tell me where did they say it? Not once did this person say where it was said or how it was said or conveyed. And so I don't know, and I don't understand where it's all coming from. Maybe it is, like Sharon had said, maybe it is jealousy. Maybe there was something like you had said. Maybe they were slighted. Maybe they tried to get back in and they were told no. I don't know. I don't know what the reason is, but there has to be a reason, because what the evidence that was put forward by this person is nonsense. It is, first of all, the evidence that they put forward in writing clearly states the opposite of what they're actually verbally saying to people. So it was almost laughable to me when I saw this and when I heard this person talking about it and then provide the so-called proof. It was laughable to me because this person was contradicting themselves right there. I mean, I get so dumbfounded at people, Lucy.
Well,
I really
okay,
do.
One thing I want to bring up, okay, this is one of the things that happens, and we mentioned this a little bit tonight with BJ and that. We're talking about a location that's being featured on a show, entertainment, okay? And I'm going to say it, Zach Baggins, to him, everything is demonic. Everything that happens that's negative, it's a demon. Everything is demonic, okay? So I am pretty sure, I don't remember exactly, and I will try to find the link, and I will try to watch this all over again. I'm pretty sure it was Zach that was mentioning that the fact that it was demons, okay?
Right.
Every one of these shows goes through editing, and the editors are going to, no matter what's filmed, they're going to put it together in a light where it's sensational. They're going to take whatever activity that happens, and they're going to make it look dark and it's scary because they're selling entertainment. Okay, so the owners of this home, this mansion, are the ones that are literally being thrown under the bus because you've got another person here making accusations which either could be a result of editing, it could be a result of what was said on the show by someone else and not the owners. So this is part of the problem. I mean, people, and this person who's making the accusations actually should know better because they've been involved in filming. They know the editing process. They know what goes into it. Everything that you see on a paranormal TV show is not the gospel truth. It's not. We all know that. Everybody realizes that. And if someone is still watching a paranormal TV show and believing everything that they see, then you know what? I want to spend a few minutes just talking to you because it's not.
This person also actually said, too, that, the Haunted Victoria Mansion is dilapidated and they've got health code violations as well, and you can even see Zach Baggins on the show had to wear a respirator. Zach wears a respirator almost every single episode that I've watched in the last year, I think, and that's because he has his own breathing problems and he doesn't want to afflict himself even more. It just didn't make sense. Everything that this person was putting forward did not make sense to anyone who understands or who is within the paranormal community or field or whatever, or is an enthusiast and knows a thing or two about this. That it just seemed as though they were trying for themselves to sensationalize their show, their promotion. They're trying to plug themselves to make them bigger. And to me, that is disgusting. And Lucy and I tried to reach out to the actual owners. We did. We reached out to the owners of the Haunted Victoria Mansion and asked them and told them about this incident because we wanted to make sure that they were aware of it. We told them about what was being said and what was being done, and we wanted to give them a platform because obviously this person wasn't going to have them on the show. Why not? If you're going to perpetuate a rumor and a lie, and you're going to condemn somebody in a location and people about what they're doing, why don't you have them, on your show and talk to you face to face? Why talk behind their back? Well, Lucy and I tried to reach out, and we did reach out to the owners, and they haven't responded. Now, I don't know. Maybe they just don't want to. Maybe they're bigger than this, and they don't want to perpetuate things any further and go on record and state things, and maybe possibly damaging or damning the person who's doing it. Maybe they're the better they're the better person of the two. And if that's the truth, and if that is it, then I commend them for it. But we wanted to give them a platform to be able to come on and talk about whatever it is and debate or negate a lot of the things that this person, Red, has said to the public in regards to what they have said and what their location is all about. I hope they do respond to us, because maybe we can squeeze them into a show in the future, and maybe if they're listening now, they may want to. But again, I completely understand if they don't want to get involved in this mess, because all it does is when you've got people, and I'll say it, people who are that stupid to create these nonsense rumors and nonsense bashing, which doesn't make sense at all. I said this, Lucy, I said this in an earlier show, that when I was younger, a psychic had told me that I should be within the paralegal field. I should be a lawyer or a paralegal. And I had said that I can't do that, because when I see a story, I tend to see both sides. And it's hard for me to pick a side, because I can see the light in both of them. This story, I honestly, this person, Red, would be in jail because they're guilty of lying. Completely. Everything that, and I can say that honestly, and I'm not the person to do that. I'd say 99% of the time, I never make a decision. I never take a side on anything. This one I will. I will take the side of the owners of the Haunted Victoria Mansion, because I know for a fact what this person is trying to put forward is false, is fake. And it is basically what they want to put forward so that they can better their career or get more publicity for them, or I don't even know what they could possibly be getting. But it was irresponsible, disgusting, and they should retract it. They really should.
Well, it was funny because in chat before the show, the conversation came up about evil. What is evil? And I made the comment that intent is what makes something evil, and it can happen with words. And in this case, I don't know what the intent was with the words that were said, but I do know that it's not good. I mean, it definitely isn't good. There's no point to it. There's no I don't understand what the outcome that this person is looking for. I only can see where it's coming from. And I don't know for sure what the reasoning is behind it, but I don't understand. I really don't understand where this would come from. If it boils down to the fact that someone has said that there's a demon in there, there's proof that the owners never said that. The second part is, I don't get the big deal. So what if there's a group on out there? It's difficult. Sometimes going to a haunted location is a little bit out of the average person's price range. It is an expensive hobby. Okay, so if a group is out there and they're going to give someone a break, a discount, what is wrong with that? I don't get it. I don't understand. I really don't understand.
Their whole idea is that you shouldn't charge people to investigate a location. Which, okay, fine, you have that opinion, but why are you attacking this one location? Is this one location the only location that charges? No. 95% of haunted locations all over the place charge. And they charge because it's funding for the place itself, or it's funding for, it's their way of making a living because they have to keep up with the house. That's a choice that they made, and it's a choice. Everybody has a choice. You can charge somebody, but it is your choice whether or not you want to give that person the money. Nobody is going in your pocket and taking it out. You can turn around and walk away. That's what I don't understand what the problem is. And this person was making fun of them and saying, oh, well, I think I need a new living room wall, so maybe I should charge, and my house is haunted, so maybe I should charge people to come into my house and investigate, and then I can get my wall fixed and have it done. They were making a joke about it. That's not funny to me. If you got a problem with somebody charging, then take it up and have that beef with every single location that's out there. Why are you picking on this one location? There is something up to that. There is something within those lines that we cannot see, that I cannot read, and all I have to do is say shame on you. And I really didn't want to bring this up. I didn't want to really talk about it. I don't want to give anybody who is negative like that any airtime or any credit. And it was a good thing, Lucy, that you said for me not to say that name,
right.
because I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to give them any publicity. I really don't, because they don't deserve it anyhow. And so I didn't want to mention it tonight. I didn't want to talk about it, but it just bites my butt. It just gets me that people have this attitude. And when Dan was talking about all of the egos and all of the mischief that goes on in between these groups and within the paranormal, and he got away from it, and he created his, sort of one-man show, or his one-man show with a collective group of real researchers, of real investigators, and that's what I liked about him, and that's why I think he and I sort of have the similar thoughts and opinions on things. And that's why I said that to him, because it really is disgusting. It really is, and that's why we don't have a paranormal group, because of the crap that we...
I was just going to say that.
All of the crap that we went through when we did have one. It just is a waste of time and energy when you've got people like that. You stay at home and watch the soap operas if you're into drama. Don't go into the paranormal.
Well, I think people get into it for the wrong reasons. And one of the hard lessons that we learned, one of the hard lessons that I learned in being in a paranormal group was not everybody has the same reasons for getting into this. And it became very obvious that the reasons were all different. So rather than deal with that, I'm much happier the way we do it now, because both of us know what we're looking for and it's answers. It's not to further our own careers or anything like that. And even doing this radio show is not to become famous. I could sit here and talk to the group that we have, to the fans that we have, and be perfectly happy. It's an exchange of ideas. It's the intent. And I just think this is just really, really a sad situation. It's a situation that makes me angry. It's made you angry. And I believe that someone should say something. Somehow. It just can't keep going on. We can't keep bashing each other and looking for things that are wrong when there's nothing there. And the other part about it is, if you're going to make the accusations, then go over what you're going to say and what you're presenting, because in order to really, I mean, these owners, this is their home. They bought this. They put money into it. As you said, there's not a location out there that really, if they're charging to have someone come in and investigate, most of the time it's in order to keep that location open. It goes back into the house. Now, if someone's doing it simply to become rich, fine. But there is such a thing as karma. It is intent. It is your intent as what you're doing. If you're truly doing something and allowing people to come in and investigate because you want everyone else to share in the experience, that's one thing. But if it's just, if it's just to make money or a name or to become famous, which I suspect is more on the side of the accusation of the accuser rather than the target in this case, it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
I think I'm burnt out.
I think you said what you needed to say, and I'm glad you did. And again, I'm glad you didn't mention the name, because they don't deserve the time. They don't deserve to have their name out there. They really don't.
I did want to mention it, and I did want to say it and get it off my chest, and I feel good about it. I may have confused the heck out of everybody who's listening, and I apologize for not going into so much detail. But you get the idea. You get the gist of it. And, it's one thing to bring forth a theory or evidence or an accusation of someone else who is doing wrong. And I'm all for that, for for people to come forward and say, XYZ has done this bad and they faked this, and here's the evidence and here's the proof positive. If you've got it in writing, first confront the person that you're accusing. Explain it to them. Talk to them. Maybe you don't have all of the answers. Maybe what you're seeing and what you're finding online it is not everything. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that everything that you read online is not truth. I mean, for God's sakes, Wikipedia. I yell at Lucy all the time. I tell her not to read anything on Wikipedia, because all Wikipedia is basically anybody can go on there and type in the definition of what is a table. And they can say, oh, a table is something that is white and green and polka dotted and actually slides up and down the walls at 12 o'clock midnight for 3 days in a row. And everybody's going to believe that's a table. Okay, that's a table. But that's because everybody can go on Wikipedia and type that in. It doesn't mean that it's truth.
You know what? The one thing that came to mind was the fact that this has happened before. It has happened before with a different location, and accusations were made. And bottom line is that we ended up going to the location to investigate it and found that everything that was being said was total bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It was. It was absolute bullshit. So, people make these accusations. Sometimes they're talking out of their butt without any real evidence. All I'm saying is that if you're going to make an accusation, then double check what you're saying. That's all.
Right. Double check, do the research, confront the person that you're accusing. If you then feel continued that there is something there to your case, then you can further it even more. Just don't go willy-nilly around and taking things off the internet, claiming them to be true, and stating to the fact to other people and not confronting the person. To me, that's not fair. That's not a fair fight. That's not a fair debate if you're going to do that. I would go and confront the person. If there's something, Lucy, there is, and I'm sure you have it too, there's many things that I feel that there are people that are doing that are wrong, but I've never come on the air and stated them. I've never done it. I've wanted to first research more, and if I did and it continued it, then I've done it. I've actually done it. I've reached out to, there was that time with Sharon Coyle, and I wanted to get, oh my God, I can't remember his name.
Oh,
the stuntman from Friday the 13th. I can't even remember his name now. Anyway,
I can't either.
It's a good thing that I don't remember his name, but I confronted him and I asked him, I'd like to have you come on the show because we'd like to talk to you about these allegations that are being made that you had done at Rolling Hills Asylum, and we'd like to talk to you about it, and he declined. So I didn't bring it up. I had Sharon talk about it, but I didn't continue. I didn't perpetuate a rumor mill. I didn't do any of that stuff. I mean, it just... To me, it just didn't make sense, what I was hearing from this person in regards to the Victorian Mansion. And so I just wanted to go on record and say to people, don't be like this. If you are going to do something like that, please do the research. Please confront the person first. If you're not going to get anywhere, at least make sure that the evidence or the evidence that you're claiming to have is truth. To me, it was total farce. It was almost laughable in nature. To anyone who has a basic understanding of life would know that that was laughable and nonsense. And so make sure that you have your things in your, you cross your T's and dot your I's before you make any accusations like that. So I think I'm going to be done with this topic. I don't know if you wanted to add any more.
I just want to say, you know what? Everybody always posts and everybody talks about paranormal unity. But as long as things like this keep happening, we're never going to move any further. And if we want anyone to take what we find, the investigations, the everything, what every paranormal investigator goes out and searches for, if you want science, if you want the world to take what we're doing seriously, then this crap's got to stop. It just has to.
All right, let's get on to something brighter and more cheerful.
Okay, like the Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week. And this week, our paranormal fan is Lorraine Wood of Lake Ozark, Missouri. She likes Haunted Collector, she likes Ghost Mine, The Walking Dead, Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunting, UFOlogy, astronomy, and of course she likes Paranormal Review Radio. Congratulations, Lorraine, and thank you so much for being a fan.
Yes, congratulations, Lorraine. And don't forget, if you want to be a Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week, all you have to do is just like us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Paranormal Review Radio.
Okay, well, you know what? The questions, they just keep coming. And it seems like the more we learn about the paranormal, the more questions come up. We have so many opinions, so many experiences, yet science can't justify what causes, or they can't even define what these things are. Our religious beliefs influence some, and then there are others who feel that they're separate from what we're searching for. So what's the answer? What happens after we die? We don't know yet. Will it happen in our lifetimes? Maybe not. But maybe when we get there, we can help the ones we leave behind to understand. Maybe. We want to thank B.J. Baretta and Dan Sturgis again for joining us tonight. You know, we've had some amazing conversations on this show. Tonight was just one of many. 2 years ago, we started this little show in hopes of connecting with like minds and talking about what we love, the paranormal. Well, you know, since that time, we have made those connections, and it just keeps getting better and better. The conversations have ranged from the funny to the mind-blowing. We have met some of the most amazing minds in the world. We've connected with the adventurers, the pioneers, the teachers, and the warriors of the paranormal, and more. We have been able to go to haunted locations, and we've brought you along. You have been our virtual partners in investigating. Even better than that, we have been blessed with some of the best fans in the world. Best because you have all become family to us. So next week, please join us as we celebrate 2 years of Paranormal Review Radio. It's our anniversary show, and we want to share how wonderful it has been with all of you. Please don't miss this party because it's going to be a good one, okay? We want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. We are so grateful for your love and your support. Anthony, thank you so much for making me think, even when I'm crazy, okay?
And that's a lot of times.
That's most of the time. So until next week, Parapeeps, keep questioning and have a paranormal week. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Paranormal Review Radio. Paranormal Review Radio.